Hello and welcome to episode 502 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, as always, joined by Evan Silva here for a AFC team by team podcast. Evan, how's it going?
How's it going? Lots to get to, so let's do it.
All right. On today's show, as I mentioned, we'll be going team by team through each AFC squad, talking about what we saw in week 14, what it means going forward. As always, this show is indeed brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. What's going on right now over there is playoff best ball and pick'em. On Saturdays, we do have the pick'em hour projections at a table against Underdog lines. You guys can go hunting there. Also, playoff best ball rankings are updated to reflect the latest playoff projections and odds. Again, a games played contest just as much. It is a fantasy contest, really interesting and thoughtful format. If you use promo code ETR when you sign up, they will match your first deposit up to $100. Again, that's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. All right, Ravens went into Pittsburgh and won. I don't really know how. I mean, Tyler Huntley goes down. They have to go to some dude that I've never heard of. I don't know what's going to happen with Lamar for this week going forward. That's the bad news. The good news, I guess, was that J.K. Dobbins somewhat surprisingly came back in this game and was very productive. I mean, J.K. Dobbins only played 26 out of 61 snaps. He handled 15 out of 30 running back carries. He only ran 8 routes on 23 dropbacks, but the production was big, 15, 121. Now, I did tweet out this video of him like dragging his leg. And of course, this tweet somehow went viral. And the Ravens people are in my mentions calling me the most hateful names ever. Because, you know, they don't see they can't, I don't, you know, I get it at this point. You know, they can't see the truth. They can't see J.K. Dobbins dragging his leg because they root for the Ravens laundry. And that's it. And so I feel bad for them, but it is what it is. Anyways, what do you think of J.K. Dobbins' return? And what do you think they're going to do at quarterback if Lamar can't get ready to play in this game? Because this is a mess.
Yeah. I don't know. Have there been any indications that Tyler Huntley is going to start?
I mean, it's getting harder and harder for guys to get cleared from a concussion in a week. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, so this quarterback, Anthony Brown, who came off the bench, he was undrafted in 2022. He played at Boston College and then transferred to Oregon. You know, he's an athlete. He ran 4.7 coming out. That's a really good time for a quarterback. He's just sort of on this like what do you call it? Like the Ravens like athletic quarterbacks behind Lamar Jackson.
The idea makes sense to me. If you want, you have to go to your backup. You don't have to change the whole scheme.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it makes sense.
But I don't know, man. I don't feel any level of confidence in J.K. Dobbins. Like we're gonna see, like, did he have a setback in the game? Like we're gonna have this is gonna be a week to week situation with the Ravens running game.
And by the way, they play the Saturday game this week. There are 3 Saturday games this week. The Ravens play one of them. So a shorter week for Huntley to get cleared, a shorter week for Dobbins and Lamar to get healthy. And by the way, Ravens had 4 running backs healthy in this game, which was one of the reasons that I actually wasn't on J.K. Dobbins. You know, I was obviously wrong in terms of results, but they had Kenyon Drake, they had Gus Edwards, they had Justice Hill, all active. Dobbins hadn't played in so long, but even like you can see it out there. He does not look right, but he still can be productive. So we'll see on J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah. We'll see like how he gets through the week. I mean, this has been very touch and go, you know, going back to training camp. You remember
Bills. Jets have the Bills number, man, in terms of slowing down Josh Allen. I mean, another really bad game for Josh Allen here against the Jets. I mean, 2 of his worst games that I can think of in the last few years have both been against the Jets. Diggs could not do anything against Sauce whatsoever. Bills still come out and get the win. They went with that 3-man RB rotation again. Singletary led the way with 29 snaps. James Cook, 24 snaps. Naheem Hines, 10 snaps. What do you think of the Bills? And the weather was nasty. It was just an ugly game, but good win for them against the Jets.
Yeah, it was. The Jets defense, I think, is just maybe the best defense in the league. And, you know, I liked them. They wound up with only 8 points. But I mean, you know, you can live with that.
Oh yeah.
But I think that the Jets defense is so good that it can bring down even the elite offenses in the NFL. So I don't know if I'm taking away that, you know, that the Bills offense is like, you know, sputtering now and spiraling down the drain or anything like that. I don't know. How do you feel about the Bills offense? I mean, it hasn't been pretty for a little bit of a while now. I mean, you got to admit that. But I just think that this was never going to be a good situation for them to rise up.
They have scaled back the aggression, period. They are not throwing the ball as aggressively as they once did. They're not throwing it when they're up 20 points like they once did. And I think that's made a big difference. They've committed more to the run game, which maybe is better for them in the long run. If they get into shootouts, which, they're home against the Dolphins this week, although weather there looks pretty bad there. I believe that's a Saturday game also. So we'll see there. But yeah, I'm in the playoffs. Like, I think they're going to, when they play the Chiefs or something in the playoffs, like Josh Allen's going to go nuclear. Like, I'm really not worried about it.
Okay. Yeah. All right, good. I think we're on the same wavelength then.
Cincinnati. One of the biggest stories in DFS last week was how much would Joe Mixon's role go down with Samaje Perine playing so well in his absence. And Samaje Perine's role did indeed expand. Mixon only led Perine in snaps 39-29. Perine actually ran more routes than Mixon, 19-16. Now, Mixon still got 16 opportunities compared to 9 for Perine. But yeah, kind of what we feared came true. Mixon's role was not elite in this game. He was still pretty efficient, but role was not elite. Weird game, though, in general, because T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd both did not play, or both played like a combined 2 snaps or something. So it was a weird game in that sense. What you see out of the Bengals?
Oh, man, I had a good team this week. I had I only ran one lineup on DraftKings. It was Mahomes to Kelsey, which was okay, but then brought it back with Judy, had Derrick Henry, had Tony Pollard, and I had Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I had Boyd too.
Yeah. And I think he lasted 2 or 3 snaps. He dislocated his finger, and now he's going to miss 1 or 2 games. T. Higgins, this is starting to become like an ongoing thing. This hamstring injury. Trenton Irwin has given them a lot of good snaps this year. It seems like Joe Burrow likes him. I think he's probably going to be playing a lot here in the coming future. Hayden Hurst also remains week to week with his calf injury.
I thought Tyler Boyd was a great play with T. Higgins on the injury report and Hayden Hurst out. Going forward, they have Trent Taylor also, but Trent Irwin, I think, is more versatile a little bit. I assume you'd rather have Irwin than Trent Taylor here going forward.
Yes. I have not seen the on-field participation stuff, though.
Yeah. Well, they both played a ton because neither T nor Boyd played.
Okay,
so they both played like almost the entire game.
I think that Trent Taylor is not very good.
Yeah.
So, and we've kind of seen that. He's bounced around. I think Irwin can play a little bit.
Okay. Browns. Big thing for me on the Browns was the David Njoku stuff. We talked about it. It was hard to click because we haven't seen it in a while. He's been so hurt. But David Njoku was not only back for this game, he was all the way back. 69 out of 71 snaps in this game for David Njoku. 29 of those slot or wide, earned a 21% target share. And now he's getting targets from Deshaun Watson, which I know Deshaun Watson has not played very well to date, but his ceiling is certainly raised by having Deshaun Watson in there. So, like, obviously there's a couple tight ends at the top that are better, but in terms of these like dust ball tight ends, the flyer tight ends, David Njoku is set up so well the rest of the way. What did you see out of the Browns?
I thought that Deshaun Watson looked a little bit more comfortable in his second game, which was to be expected. He had some nice runs in the game. I don't know if I would have confidence to start him yet as like a quarterback 1 in fantasy, especially when we got the full menu. We got all 32 teams playing going forward. I mean, I think he'd be quarterback 16, maybe somewhere in there. It was a nice call by you, I believe it was. Amari Cooper's like playing through an injury right now. And so DPJ pops up big time. I like the way that like the playing style of DPJ and the way that Deshaun Watson plays. Like, I think that there could be something there that we could maybe potentially hang our hats on for the final month of the regular season.
Yeah, I'd probably be a little bit more optimistic than you on Deshaun Watson. I thought we saw enough to probably have him in the top 15 of quarterbacks, at least going forward. They play home against the Ravens going forward. And like Amari Cooper, David Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones, that's like really good.
Right. Yep, good offensive line.
For sure.
Fair enough.
Let's go to Denver. They had a chance to win this game, which is crazy. You already mentioned the Jerry Jeudy 3-touchdown thing he popped up for. No Courtland Sutton. This game certainly helped Jerry Jeudy, I think. But now Russ Wilson is in the concussion protocol. Mike Boone hurt his ankle in this game. They're probably going to have to go with Brett Rippon, I would think, in the week coming. Any thoughts for you on the Broncos? I don't want to go nuts on this Jerry Jeudy stuff, especially if Courtland Sutton is back, but it was good to see Jerry Jeudy show up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mike Boone is just like one of the most star-crossed players in the NFL. I guess Marlon Mack is going to be the Broncos' passing down back going forward behind Latavius Murray.
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess they'll be going with Rippon. I don't think that Russell Wilson is going to come back. And Russell Wilson actually played pretty decently well in this game, but then he suffers the concussion. It's not the Broncos' year. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
By the way, Jerry Jeudy in this game had 8 catches. 3 of them went for touchdowns. Obviously unsustainable, no doubt. And also his target share in this game was only 20%. You know, like the actual alpha target share games are like 30+% than you see for guys like Steph Diggs at times and Devontae Adams and stuff like that. And so wasn't that great for Jerry Jeudy, but really productive game. So still good to see there. Houston. Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks were out for this game, allowed Chris Moore to go off for 10 catches here. We'll see on the status of Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks going forward. I don't think Brandon Cooks really wants to play for this team. Like, I would be surprised if Brandon Cooks is able or does come back at all this year. Nico, I think, at least has a chance or will want to come back. Dameon Pierce also hurt his ankle in this game, which could leave them with Rex Burkhead. And by the way, this is the 1-year anniversary of Rex Burkhead being my hero this week upcoming, and maybe we'll get another shot at Rex Burkhead here. What you see out of the Texans, who played by far their best game of the year.
Yeah, so Dameon Pierce suffered what they're calling a mild high ankle sprain, but he's not expected to play this coming week. They cut Benjamin after the game. So yeah, it looks like Burkhead and Dare Ogunbowale in the backfield. I capitulate on several things here. God, there's going to be a lot of capitulation within the next 10 minutes of this podcast, by the way. Some painful, okay? Jordan Akins totally blew it. Chris Moore, you were right about him over Philip Dorsett. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this Texans stuff, and to be clear, like I actually – last year was different. Like Texans offense, I think, was better. They were playing the Chargers. This year, it's going to be Rex Burkhead and Dare against the Chiefs. And we'll talk about it more on Friday, but I doubt that's a spot I'll be looking to take on. Colts had a bye. They'll come out of their bye and play at Minnesota in a Saturday game this week. One thing we saw before the bye with the Colts was awesome usage for Jonathan Taylor. But I think the way you beat the Vikings with perimeter wide receivers, so we'll see if they are able to do so. Anything for you on the Colts as they come out of their bye?
Nothing really off the top of my head. The tight end situation, I think is probably continue to be frustrating. They use 3 guys, Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox, and the rookie Jelani Woods. I think that Paris Campbell is like a reliable wide receiver 3. There was some speculation that the Colts might go to a different quarterback, but they confirmed they're sticking with Matt Ryan.
Jaguars. The Evan Ingram thing is one of like the wildest things that's happened all year. Because Evan Ingram's had a great role all year. Like we've been talking all year. Like Evan Ingram's role has been very, very good. It's the same thing with Dulcich, man. Like the role has been very good. Sometimes it's just going to happen when you have a really good role. You pop up for a huge game. Now, I did not think that a huge game for Evan Ingram would mean 11 catches, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that is completely ridiculous. But again, Evan Ingram's role has been good. It's been good all year. And as coming out of college, I mean, Evan Ingram was basically an oversized wide receiver, and that's how he's kind of been used. Also helping Evan Ingram, of course, is something we've been talking about for a while. Trevor Lawrence is absolutely balling. I believe he is PFF's number 2 quarterback since week 9, certainly elevating guys like Evan Ingram. And Zay Jones, what do you see out of the Jaguars, who, I mean, just destroyed the Titans in the second half?
Yeah, and we have talked about Evan Ingram's role all season, really. Yeah. But I was surprised to hear people saying that they had started Evan Ingram. He had 56 combined yards over his previous 4 games. Some of the games, although he has played a lot, like 1 target, 4 targets, 2 targets, the ball really wasn't going his way consistently. So, but it was a week with 6 teams on bye, and so I guess I could see how some people got there. That was wild. And then it takes him up. Now all of a sudden he's like the number 9 overall tight end in fantasy. Like that's how weak this position is. Yes, I will capitulate on Zay Jones. However, okay, his 2 big games, all right, nobody was starting him against the Ravens. Let's be real. And in this one, we talked about that his situation, like it's not going to get better. The Titans are an absolute sieve in pass defense at this point with all the injuries that they've endured, and they're still good against the run. So this was, the ultimate situation. He was also listed as questionable. We didn't know even going into the game if he was going to be 100%. Were people starting him this week? I don't know. Maybe they were. He's been a great best ball pick. He really has been a good best ball pick.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah, he's got, I think, 3 spiked weeks at this point, and he's got a couple of decent ones that will help you float you when your other guys aren't performing. So he's been a very good, very, very, very good best ball pick, no question.
I just want to say on Travis Etienne, like this pass game stuff is concerning, man. I mean, a 7.4% target share on the season is really low. He's 34th among 47 qualifying running backs in yards per route run. Travis Etienne hasn't caught more than 3 balls in a game all year. And so as we start to think about dynasty and offseason next year's rankings, like maybe some of that stuff from the tape bros that Travis Etienne wasn't that good in the pass game, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. So we'll talk about it more.
Trevor Lawrence has been awesome now in 4 of the Jaguars' last 5 games.
So good. He's just absolutely balling. Kansas City. So what we have is a 2-man backfield now. I mean, we've talked about it. 2-man backfield. You can find ceilings here. Jerick McKinnon, I think when the chips are down, I think they actually prefer McKinnon, like in high leverage spots, red zone stuff. McKinnon played 39 snaps in this game, ran 24 routes, 17 opportunities. Isaiah Pacheco, 29 snaps, 12 routes, 16 opportunities. Obviously, it's an outlier ceiling, 99th percentile game for Jerick McKinnon. But he's a guy that I want to play because he can do both, right? Like he gets some carries. He gets a lot of catches, and there's games where the Chiefs don't even try to run, which I think we'll see some of in the playoffs too. So excited for Jerick McKinnon in best ball, et cetera. What did you see out of the Chiefs?
Jerick McKinnon, and look, it's not easy to predict his big games, okay? I mean, I wasn't really on him this past week. I was on Pacheco a little bit, so I'm not going to pretend like I knew that this was coming, but he's had a really good season. I mean, he's been a really good player for them. He's been consistent. He runs hard as a straight ball carrier. He's good in the passing game. And now the backfield without Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been narrowed to a 2-man ordeal. So you can make a good case that McKinnon is like a flex starter every week. And I think Pacheco is like an RB2/flex. I think I would still rather have Pacheco than McKinnon straight up. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think in any half or full PPR, I'd probably rather have McKinnon. But yeah, it's certainly close, and I'm happy to be starting either at this point.
Yeah.
Raiders. We talked about it a little bit on the NFC pod, but this was just such a brutal loss for the Raiders. I don't even know how they lost this game. One reason is they played so conservative. Like they got a lead, and honestly, I might have played conservative too if I knew that Sam Bradford had just gotten off the bus and he's throwing to Tutu Atwell and Ben Skoranek. But they played
Sam
so conservative.
Bradford. Now there's a throwback name.
Oh, sorry. Baker Mayfield.
Hey, they both played at Oklahoma.
Yeah. 20 attempts for Derek Carr in this entire game. The Raiders ran it 38 damn times. I mean, they're dead now, though. They're dead for the playoffs now. They play Patriots, Steelers, 49ers next. Pretty tough schedule there for Josh Jacobs and the Raiders. I mean, what a horrible loss. What you see out of their Thursday night game.
There's no excuse. Like, you deserve to not make the playoffs, absolutely, if you lose a game like this. I mean, no Cooper Kupp, no Matthew Stafford, no Allen Robinson, no Aaron Donald, no Ashawn Robinson. No offensive line. I mean, the Rams were in no position to win this game, and the Raiders, this is your just desserts. I mean, this is what you get. You're not going to the postseason.
Yeah, and Josh Jacobs has been banged up. They have tough matchups coming up. The advance rate on Josh Jacobs is probably the highest in the entire all of fantasy football. Like more people advance with Josh Jacobs on their team than anyone else in fantasy football. But I don't think he's set up that great for the stretch run here. So I think there's some openings for non-Jacobs best ball teams to win, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll see. Guys obviously had an absolutely incredible year. Chargers. I mean, This team can run so many plays. They play so fast. They're so throw heavy. They ran 78 plays in this game, 51 Justin Herbert attempts. I mean, he regularly gets into the high 40s and 50s in attempts, which is crazy. Big Mike Williams came back from his injury, played 52 out of 80 snaps, which wasn't great, but production was off the charts, played a really good game. What do you think of the Chargers win over the Dolphins?
You know, they didn't, you know, they only put up 23 points. Herbert didn't really even light it up in fantasy, but man, he played a really good game here. And shout out to Mike Williams, who coming back from a high ankle sprain was shadowed by Xavier Howard in this game on like 32 of his 39 routes or something like that. And I mean, he went ballistic, 6 for 116 and a touchdown on 6 targets. He was perfect in the game. You know, Keenan Allen slides back into that high percentage chain moving role. You know, Eckler, you know, although his splits are not great when Keenan Allen plays historically, like he's still been very involved in the passing game. 8 catches here. Gerald Everett gets you 5 catches. Like this was a nice game for fantasy. You know, in the pass catcher core, 51 attempts is going to help, but Justin Herbert played a hell of a game. This is another quarterback who like stands in the pocket and takes hits and can absolutely rip it deep downfield.
We took an Austin Eckler under in receiving yards in this game, and I thought it was good mostly because this was the first time that Eckler, Keenan, Big Mike, Everett, and Palmer were all on the field together. Didn't work out. Eckler still went off in the receiving game, which I think is encouraging for him that even with all those guys, I mean, he can go completely nuke in the receiving game. But yeah, it's certainly getting crowded there, but awesome for Justin Herbert now to have his full arsenal of weapons. Miami. I didn't have a lot on Miami, man. They just laid an egg. I mean, I needed Waddle really bad to advance in some best ball stuff, and he was awful. Jeff Wilson hurt his hip in this game, but I'm not sure how much they're willing to ride Raheem Mostert at this point. So, yeah, it was ugly for the Dolphins. What do you see out of them?
It's now been 2 bad games in a row for Tua. The last one was against San Francisco, and you know, you have to kind of forgive him for that one. In this game, the Chargers just had a great game plan. That was to get physical with the Dolphins receivers up at the line of scrimmage. I mean, they had linebackers hitting Tyreek Hill, you know, whenever he got to 5 yards. Tyreek Hill also suffered an injury of some sort in this game, did he not? I think he had like an ankle or something.
Sounds like he's going to be day to day. Doesn't sound severe.
Yeah. Okay. And also, you know, but now the Knicks are starting to pile up for the Dolphins. The Dolphins really were healthy, pretty healthy for most of the season. I know Tua had the concussion stuff early on, but for the most part, like this offense has stayed healthy. Now they're starting to endure some. You know, it was Jalen Waddle a couple weeks ago, Tyreek Hill now with this thing, Jeff Wilson. You know, Tua I don't think is 100% right now. The offensive line has been sort of like, you know, musical chairs on the offensive line. You know, they're having to deal with this stuff, and they're not really coming through due to that, adversity. And I think, have you looked at their schedule down the stretch? Because it's freaking brutal.
Yeah,
brutal.
Dolphins finish at the Bills this week versus the Packers, at the Patriots versus the Jets are their final 4 games.
Yeah, it doesn't get much harder than that.
Yeah. Let's go to New England. I mean, they lost Ramondre Stevenson early. They go with Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong. And by the way, I thought Pierre Strong looked pretty good, encouraging for the Dynasty Bros on Pierre Strong. Devontae Parker went down in this game. They already didn't have Jacoby, but they still somehow get there and win the game. Of course, Kyler Murray got injured, sadly, very early, but good win for the Patriots, man. What did you see out of them?
Yeah, I mean, it was Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong, 2 rookies in the backfield in place of Ramondre Stevenson. Did you get any sense of how badly, like, what's the deal with Stevenson?
Yeah, I haven't heard yet. It's been so short since the game. I actually haven't seen yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, even with some injuries, like thinning out the wide receiver core, nobody really got there. You know, the passing offense just isn't very good.
That's what I mean, it's just a mess. One thing I would say, though, is that Damian Harris did travel with the team to Arizona, despite being listed doubtful. Damian Harris did work out on the field before the game. It could be a spot where Damian Harris actually comes back and Ramondre is out, which would, you know, that'd be good, obviously, for Damian Harris
Yeah.
going forward. Jets. A lot of injuries here for the Jets. Mike White hurt his ribs, which was sad to see. Corey Davis left early with a concussion. The most encouraging thing I saw was the Elijah Moore sticky role change. Led the Jets in targets this game at 21% share, 47 routes on 51 dropbacks. Like, he's actually back to playing good ball. He has a slot role. He's playing almost every snap. And even if Corey Davis didn't go down in this game, I think Elijah Moore still would have had a pretty good game here. What do you see out of the Jets who lost up in Buffalo?
I think that Garrett Wilson has largely reached like a matchup proof sort of, the way that we approach him. I mean, he's got that rapport with Mike White. Mike White took some absolute, he got leveled like 4 times in this game, and he kept coming back up. I mean, he'll gain respect in the locker room for that. Zach Wilson is not coming back this season.
No.
I mean, barring an injury to Mike White, and Mike White is technically questionable for week 15.
No,
but I mean, they're going to go to Flacco.
Yeah.
If Mike White cannot play.
I mean, I really don't like to make judgments on guys early in their careers because it can go really bad and it's too early. But man, Zach Wilson, like, he may not be long for the NFL.
Yeah.
Steelers. Kenny Pickett went down with a concussion here, so they go to Trubisky for the whole game. George Pickens complained, had some squeaky wheel stuff on him, but just 3 targets on 31 combined quarterback pass attempts here. For George Pickens, he continues to struggle to earn a high percentage of targets despite Claypool being gone, despite complaining, et cetera, et cetera. What did you see out of the Steelers? I mean, this was a bad loss for the Steelers because they started Tyler Huntley, and then Tyler Huntley got injured with a concussion pretty early in the game and left, and the Steelers still couldn't win the game. What did you see out of them?
Big step back for the running game. The running game had actually been doing pretty well in recent weeks for Pittsburgh. Not the case in this one. Kenny Pickett now has been concussed twice in the past 2 months. And so, I wouldn't expect him back in week 15.
Last one we're going to do here today is the Titans. So I know everybody's excited about Chig Ekwonu. I'm excited about Chig, man. Dude is awesome. Awesome to watch. So fun. His usage in this game still wasn't great, though. Even with Treylon Burks out, Chig only played 49% of the snaps. He only ran around on 52% of the dropbacks, but he did earn a 16% target share. He went 645-1, and he caught a 2-point conversion. So, like, at the tight end position, it's fine. I think that usage is going to lead to some floor games, but, it was fine. What do you see out of the Titans, who started off real hot behind Derrick Henry and then just totally face planted in the second half?
Yeah, I thought that this was going to be one of those, like, historic, like, 225 rushing yard games for Derrick Henry. He had 97 rushing yards in the first quarter. And he finished with 121. He had 3 rushing yards in the second half. I think you pointed out on Twitter, his passing game role has been sneaky good. I mean, 3 catches for 34 yards in this game, 5 targets. I think it's past time that they started to get him involved in the passing game.
Yeah, they did lose Hassan Haskins, I believe, in this game, which may have contributed to Henry playing in the hurry up a little bit more. But Derrick Henry is now to a 10.1% target share this season. Anything over 10% for a running back is pretty good. I mean, we just talked about Travis Etienne down at 7%. Imagine Derrick Henry earning a bigger target share than Travis Etienne before the season. I never would have thought that. Derrick Henry on pace to catch 34 balls this year. Previous career high was only 19. All right. That is going to do it for this AFC team by team podcast. Appreciate you all being here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast, hit the subscribe button. We will have podcasts throughout the rest of the season, the playoffs, and of course, the off season. For Evan, for producer Luke, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.